Hey, Vintage Car Chronicles listeners, welcome to a special deep dive today. It's going to be a good one. We're going to explore the life and career of one of Formula One's most iconic figures.
Ayrton Senna.
Yeah, exactly, Ayrton Senna.
It's interesting when you think of Senna, most people just picture, the wins, the championships, the rivalries, but we've got a stack of biographies and articles here, and they paint a much more complex picture.
Yeah, a driver with incredible intensity, a complex personality, and a legacy that continues to echo today.
Absolutely.
So let's start at the beginning. What sparked this incredible journey?
Well, Senna's story begins in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Just imagine him, a young Ayrton, just 4 years old, gifted a go-kart by his father.
Wow,
It ignited a passion that would only intensify with every race.
what a start from go-karts to conquering the world of F1. That's some serious ambition. Did his early years hint at the racing giant he would become?
Oh, absolutely. His early career was marked by this relentless drive to win. He won his first kart race at just 13 years old. Yeah. And then went on to win 5 championships in just 3 years in British single-seater racing.
That's not just talent, that's a hunger to win. But was it all natural talent, or did Senna have to work at it?
I mean, natural talent was definitely there, but Senna was also incredibly dedicated to self-improvement. There's this story about a karting race where he struggled in the rain. He kept getting overtaken. It was a humbling experience, but it fueled his commitment to training. He would even practice in parking lots, pushing himself relentlessly.
Why? Pushing himself to the limit, even in a parking lot. So when did he finally hit the big leagues Formula One?
His F1 debut came in 1984 with the Toleman team. Now, Toleman wasn't exactly a top contender, but Senna's raw talent was obvious.
Okay.
And then came Monaco.
Monaco, the legendary street circuit. You can't talk about Senna without mentioning Monaco. I can already sense some drama unfolding.
Picture this, torrential rain cars, aquaplaning chaos on the track. And Senna, in only his fifth F1 start, is karting through the field. He was catching up to Alain Prost, who ultimately won the race, but it was stopped early due to the dangerous conditions.
So close to a fairy tale victory.
It was a glimpse of his mastery in wet conditions and a preview of the brilliance that was to come.
Yeah. Had the race continued, do you think he could have overtaken Prost?
It's hard to say for sure, but the way he was driving anything was possible.
Right, it was a performance that put him on everyone's radar. And in 1985, he signed with Lotus, a team known for their innovative approach to racing.
That's right.
This is where we really start to see him hone his skills.
Exactly. Over 3 seasons with Lotus, Senna achieved 16 pole positions and 6 victories. He was pushing the limits of what was possible with the car.
He was known for having an almost supernatural feel for the car, wasn't he? I mean, beyond just being a skilled driver.
Yeah, it's true. There's this famous story about Senna being able to identify a used brake pad just by feel, even with the limited telemetry they had back then.
Wow, a used brake pad? That's incredible.
It really speaks to just how attuned he was to the car.
Yeah, so we've got these incredible wins, dominating qualifying sessions, and this reputation for just incredible car control. But what about Senna the person? What was he like to work with?
Well, Senna was intensely competitive, and that sometimes created friction. He had a famously difficult relationship with his teammate Elio De Angelis.
Hmm.
Senna wasn't really interested in socializing with his rivals. He was there to win. And it's this focus, this drive to be the best that led him to McLaren in 1988.
McLaren, home of the legendary Honda engine and a certain Alain Prost.
Yeah.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. The Senna-Prost rivalry is the stuff of legends.
Oh, absolutely. This marks the beginning of one of Formula One's greatest rivalries, two titans of the sport constantly clashing both on and off the track.
Prost, already a two-time world champion, initially welcomed Senna to the team, but that quickly dissolved into fierce competition,
It did.
eventually escalating to open hostility.
Right.
And 1988 was a phenomenal year for McLaren Honda. They won 15 out of 16 races.
A dominant season for sure.
Talk about a dream team. And in the midst of all that, Senna clinched his first world championship.
He did.
But it wasn't just about the wins. There were moments of pure magic, like his qualifying lap at Monaco that year. He later described it as entering another dimension, driving beyond conscious thought.
It's true.
It's a lap that's still analyzed and discussed to this day.
It is.
Another dimension. That's a powerful way to describe it. It almost makes you wonder if there was something beyond pure skill at play, some kind of heightened awareness. Do you think there's any truth to that?
Well, there was definitely something special about Senna, a certain mystique. It's hard to explain, but you could feel it when he was on the track. But 1989 took a dramatic turn.
Yeah. Things got a bit complicated. A collision controversy. It wasn't a straightforward season.
You could say that the championship battle went down to the wire, culminating in a controversial collision between Senna and Prost at Suzuka.
Right.
Senna was disqualified, handing Prost the title.
I imagine that fueled Senna's determination even further To have the championship snatched away like that, it must have been a bitter pill to swallow.
Absolutely, it was psychological warfare at its finest. The tension within the team reached a boiling point. The following year, 1990, saw a similar scenario unfold with another collision at Suzuka.
Wow.
This time, however, it secured the championship for Senna, but again, it was shrouded in controversy.
2 championships, both marked by intense battles and questionable tactics. What a story. So what happened next? Did he continue this winning streak?
Well, Senna went on to win his third championship in 1991, showcasing his absolute dominance and commitment to constant improvement. He was always looking for an edge, analyzing every detail. But unfortunately, McLaren's dominance started to fade in 1992.
Okay.
It was a frustrating season for Senna, and his desire to race for the formidable Williams team intensified.
Williams was the team to beat back then with their advanced technology and innovative designs.
They were.
But there were some O-blocks. It wasn't as simple as just switching teams.
Exactly. It was a complex situation with driver negotiations. And in the end, Prost secured the coveted Williams seat for 1993. This left Senna with a tough decision: stay with a struggling McLaren or find a new home.
What did he do?
He even tested an Indy car, which shows you just how much he was willing to adapt and push himself in the pursuit of speed.
Wow. Testing an IndyCar, talk about a change of scenery. It shows his dedication to the sport, to always be at the forefront of racing.
It does.
But ultimately, he chose to stick with McLaren. That's loyalty.
He did. He stayed with McLaren for one more year, which is remarkable considering their struggles. But 1993 set the stage for another thrilling chapter in the Senna-Prost rivalry. Only this time, Prost had the superior car, the Williams.
The tables have turned. 1993, Senna versus Prost, round 2. What a showdown that must have been.
It was an incredible season. Despite driving a less competitive car, Senna delivered some of his most memorable performances. His first lap at the European Grand Prix at Donington is legendary.
Well, I've heard about this.
Torrential rain, challenging conditions, and Senna like a maestro orchestrating his car through the field. He overtook Prost and several others on that first lap, ultimately claiming the victory.
Unbelievable.
It was a display of pure skill, instinct, and car control that left everyone speechless.
That win at Donington must have felt particularly sweet, proving he could still dominate even without the best car. Did that performance affect Prost? Did it reignite their rivalry?
Senna's performance silenced any doubters and showed that he was still a force to be reckoned with. He finished the season second to Prost, who announced his retirement at the end of the year.
So the path to Williams was finally clear. It seems almost like destiny was calling.
It does, doesn't it? After years of waiting and wanting that Williams seat, Senna finally got his chance in 1994. But as we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive, his time with Williams would be tragically short-lived. It's a period marked by a dark cloud that hung over the sport. Senna joining Williams in 1994. It was the culmination of years of ambition, but Formula One was on the verge of a major shift. New regulations had come into play, banning many of the electronic aids that had become commonplace. Things like active suspension and traction control.
Wow, a whole new era for this sport. Those regulations must have shaken things up quite a bit. Did they level the playing field, or did some teams adapt better than others?
Well, it did level things out in some ways, but these changes also made the cars much more difficult to drive, less predictable. And the Williams FW16, designed by the brilliant Adrian Newey, it was notoriously twitchy and challenging to master, even for a driver of Senna's caliber.
And remember, he was coming from the McLaren, which was known for its smooth handling. That must have been a huge adjustment. Did Senna ever talk about the challenges of adapting to this new car?
He did. It wasn't just a new team, it was a whole new driving experience. And on top of that, he was facing a new generation of incredibly talented rivals.
Names like Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, Mika Hakkinen, a real changing of the guard. It must have been exciting, but also incredibly daunting for Senna. He was no longer the young up-and-comer.
Exactly. Senna knew he couldn't just rely on past victories. He had to prove himself all over again. In the first 2 races of the season, they really showed the challenges he was facing. He took pole position both times, but didn't finish either race. In Brazil, he spun out while leading, and in the Pacific Grand Prix, he got caught up in a first-lap collision.
So a frustrating start to the season. And meanwhile, you have Schumacher racking up wins in his Benetton. The pressure must have been immense. Did Senna ever express any doubts or anxieties during this time?
It was undoubtedly a difficult period for him, and then things were about to take an even darker turn. The 1994 San Marino Grand Prix at Imola. It's a weekend that will forever be etched in F1 history for all the wrong reasons.
Imola, a weekend of tragedy. It's hard to forget the events that unfolded there.
It started during Friday practice. Rubens Barrichello, a young Brazilian driver, had a horrific crash. He lost control of his Jordan at high speed, hitting the barriers with tremendous force.
I remember seeing that crash and just holding my breath, hoping for the best.
It was a terrifying moment. Everyone feared the worst.
Thankfully, Barrichello survived, although he was seriously injured. But I understand that accident had a profound impact on Senna.
It did. Senna immediately rushed to Barrichello's side at the medical center. He was visibly shaken by the incident. He'd always been outspoken about safety concerns in F1, and this accident brought those fears to the forefront.
That makes sense. It's one thing to advocate for safety abstractly, but it's another to see a fellow driver, a friend, experience such a horrific crash. It must have been a wake-up call, a stark reminder of the risks they all face.
Absolutely. And tragically, the very next day during qualifying, another accident occurred.
Roland Ratzenberger, a name that's sadly linked to that dark weekend?
Yes, Roland Ratzenberger, an Austrian driver for the Simtek team, lost control of his car at the Villeneuve corner. The impact was devastating, and he was killed instantly.
It was the first driver fatality during a Grand Prix weekend in over a decade.
It was a shocking loss.
I remember the shock, the disbelief that spread through the motorsport world. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of life, the inherent dangers of this sport they all loved. How did Senna react to Ratzenberger's death?
He was devastated. Senna watched the replays of the accident in the Williams garage, his face etched with grief. He was close to many drivers, including Ratzenberger, and this loss hit him hard. It wasn't just sadness, there was a sense of foreboding that seemed to wash over him.
It's been said that he actually considered not racing on Sunday.
He did. Sid Watkins, the head of F1 medical team and a close friend of Senna's, urged him to withdraw from the race. He even suggested they go fishing instead. But Senna replied that there were some things he couldn't control, that he couldn't just quit.
That's heartbreaking. Despite his premonitions, despite the weight of those tragedies, he felt this overwhelming urge to race. What do you think was going through his mind in those final hours?
There are accounts that Senna spent that morning reading the Bible, perhaps seeking comfort or guidance. He also spoke to Alain Prost, his former rival, who was now a commentator about the safety concerns that were plaguing him. He even voiced his doubts about being able to challenge Schumacher's Benetton, which he suspected of having illegal traction control.
So a mix of determination, apprehension, and this lingering unease. It's almost as if he knew on some level that something terrible was going to happen.
It's a chilling thought. And then came the race itself. On the very first lap, there was a collision involving J.J. Leco and Pedro Lemi. Debris was scattered across the track, and the safety car was deployed, bunching the field up.
Those restarts after a safety car period are always tense, filled with anticipation and a surge of adrenaline. The drivers are eager to get going again, but there's also this heightened awareness of the potential for danger.
Absolutely. And as the race resumed, tragedy struck. Senna, who was leading, went off track at the high-speed Tamburello corner. The impact with the concrete barrier was horrific.
The world watched in stunned silence as the medical team rushed to Senna's aid. It was a moment frozen in time, a collective gasp of horror as we all realized the gravity of the situation.
He was airlifted to the hospital, but his injuries were too severe. He was pronounced dead later that afternoon.
It was a devastating loss, not just for the sport, but for millions of fans around the world who had been captivated by Senna's brilliance and his unwavering spirit.
His death cast a long shadow over Formula One, prompting immediate calls for improved safety measures. The sport had lost one of its brightest stars, a driver who transcended racing and became a global icon. But even in death, Senna's legacy would continue to grow, inspiring change and leaving an indelible mark on the world.
It's hard to grasp the true magnitude of his impact. It goes so far beyond racing. He was a symbol of passion, determination, and this almost spiritual connection to speed.
Yeah, and what's incredible is how his legacy extends far beyond the racetrack. Senna was deeply troubled by the poverty and inequality he witnessed in his home country, Brazil. He quietly supported several charities and was even developing plans for a foundation to help underprivileged children.
So even amidst the pressure of Formula One, he never forgot where he came from. That's really powerful. Tell me more about this foundation.
Well, after his death, Senna's sister Viviane established the Ayrton Senna Foundation to fulfill his vision. It focuses on providing educational opportunities and support to children in Brazil. They've invested millions in projects that empower young people, particularly through sports and creative activities.
Using his passion to create a better future for others, it's a beautiful tribute to his memory.
It really is. It speaks volumes about the kind of person Senna was: driven, compassionate, and determined to make a real difference in the world. And of course, his legacy continues to live on in the hearts of millions of fans across the globe.
Thinking back on everything we've discussed, what do you think makes Senna such an enduring figure? Why, even decades later, do people still feel so connected to him?
I think it's the combination of his extraordinary talent, his complex personality, and the tragic nature of his death. Senna was a driver who pushed the limits both on and off the track. He was fiercely competitive, almost to a fault. Yet he was also deeply spiritual and incredibly sensitive to the struggles of others.
A man of contradictions.
He was, and it seems like he had this profound, almost mystical connection with the car itself.
Right?
Senna's ability to feel the nuances of a car was legendary. Engineers were amazed by his feedback, by his ability to pinpoint even the smallest adjustments that could shave fractions of a second off his lap time. It was more than just skill, it was this deep understanding of the machine, an instinct that very few drivers possess.
And we can't forget the legendary rivalry with Alain Prost, two contrasting personalities, both at the absolute pinnacle of the sport.
Their battles on the track were epic. It was this clash of styles, Prost's calculated precision versus Senna's raw aggression and willingness to push the boundaries. And their feud off the track was just as intense, filled with mind games and controversy.
It's fascinating how, even years after their careers ended, people are still captivated by their rivalry. What do you think it was about their dynamic that continues to resonate with fans?
Well, it's a testament to the drama and intensity they brought to Formula One, and even though their relationship was incredibly strained for many years, there was this poignant moment in 1993 at Prost's final race where they reconciled on the podium. It was a sign of mutual respect, maybe even a hint of friendship emerging from that intense competition.
A fitting end to a chapter that had consumed so much of their lives. And then, of course, there's the tragedy of Imola, a weekend that forever changed Formula One.
Senna's death was a stark reminder of the risks inherent in Motor Street. It led to a period of deep reflection and significant safety improvements in the sport. The impact of that weekend is still felt today.
But amidst the sadness and the loss, Senna's legacy shines through. He's remembered not just as a driver, but as a true icon, someone who embodied the spirit of racing.
Senna's story is a powerful reminder that greatness comes from dedication, passion, and an unwavering pursuit of excellence, and that even in a world obsessed with winning, compassion and humanity can shine through.
Well, Vintage Car Chronicles listeners, we've reached the finish line on our deep dive into the life and legacy of Ayrton Senna. We explored his early days, his triumphs, his struggles, his fierce rivalries, and the lasting impact he made on the world.
It's been a journey through the highs and lows of Formula One, a glimpse into the heart and mind of a true legend.
We hope this deep dive has provided you with a deeper understanding of Ayrton Senna, the man behind the helmet. We encourage you to explore further, to watch those old races, read his interviews, and appreciate the enduring spirit of a driver who continues to inspire generations.
And don't forget, this was a special deep dive episode for Vintage Car Chronicles. We'll be back with our regular daily episode tomorrow, so make sure to tune in for more automotive adventures.
Until then, keep the passion for racing alive. And as Ayrton Senna himself once said, if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.